Friends, greetings at the Summary Club and welcome to the Tao of the Celestial Empire, or so-called Chinese Taoism. We will try to get out of the labyrinth of this Oriental doctrine, of all the troubles and problems of life, with the help of the ideas, essence, principles and philosophy of Taoism, as one of the world's most famous religious teachings. What is Tao? To begin with, we must understand that the word Tao means forbidden. This is going beyond duality, the union of the masculine and feminine in man, life, and death. And as the great master of Taoism Lao Tzu said, Tao is empty, but thanks to it everything exists. History of Taoism. It is generally believed that historically, Taoism has its origins in the Chinese emperors of the Chu dynasty, where mystical shamanistic rituals and cults were already developing. Yet, the real tradition begins with the legendary master Lao Tzu, the wise elder of the 5 centuries before our age, who created the seminal treatise Tao Te Ching. And the word Tao can be translated as absolute knowledge, which cannot be expressed in words, but still can be experienced. And the word Tao is a way of being, or how to abide in such absolute knowledge. The Tao moves all things, but which is beyond the idea of them. The essence of Taoism. The essence of Taoism is defined by the fact that Tao is without form or color, there is no personality, and even the concept of I does not exist. Moreover, there is no effort or purpose. There are no traditions and no temples, and there is no one to minister to, no one to serve, and no one to do anything about, stay in the void, and do not follow thoughts and phenomena, but just observe and be a witness. Understand that emptiness is the fulcrum of everything, the Tao without form or name, but it is the fulcrum of everything, it is the forbidden aspect that binds everything together. It is simply the universal order, and in the Tao there are usually no temples built, and there are no priests or rituals, there is only pure understanding. One day the Taoist master Li Qi was traveling with his disciple. Sitting by the roadside to get something to eat, he saw a skull and said to his disciple pointing to the skull, "Only he and I know that you were not born and will not die." He also added that people do not know the truth and are just miserable fools, but the skull and the master know the truth beyond death and birth, and therefore are happy. The way of Tao. Taoism as a religion teaches to be on the path and not to differ from the path, because all existence is one in itself, and we are part of it. Usually we are all taught as individuals. But then how can we be in harmony with our surroundings? Happiness is to be inseparable from the whole. This is the way of Taoism, or simply Tao. If you have an ego, or at least the concept of an ego, then you are not on the path. The concept of holiness in Taoism is to be in harmony with the One, to be one. And the understanding of the Bible is different there. We all had parents and they, in turn, had parents. And we get to Adam and Eve, and it turns out God gave birth to them. And who gave birth to God? Because he must exist somewhere, because at least there must be space for his existence or creative energy, a vacuum or emptiness. Is there a God in Taoism? So in Taoism the main thing is not God, but the Tao, which includes both God, if you will, and all that exists is simply being or oneness. As soon as you consider yourself separate from the rest of life and non-life, you are already separated from God. Usually people dig into the past and the future, but that's just a dimension of time, and when you're one, you're in space connected to everyone, and you're beyond time. In this being, there is no suffering and sorrow. They arise when we are separated from the whole, when there is a self. Taoist parable. One day, an emperor called a minister to him and said, "I want to be happy, take care of it, otherwise I will execute you." The minister replied that we should probably find a shirt of a happy man and bring it. And for a long time he looked for a happy person, but it turned out that everyone was unhappy, and the minister became saddened. And then someone told him that on the bank of the river someone was constantly playing merry music on the flute at night. Then the minister went there and indeed saw a man playing enchanting music on the flute and asked him, "Are you happy?" The man replied, "Yes, I am happiness." The minister was immensely happy and asked for a shirt. But the man was silent for a long time and only then said, that he had no shirt, he was naked. Then, "Why are you happy?" the minister asked. The man replied, "One day I lost everything, including my shirt, and I became happy. I have nothing, and I don't even have myself, and yet I play the flute, and the whole or the one plays through me. You understand, I just don't exist, I don't know who I am nobody and nothing." The basic ideas of Taoism. Sometimes Tao is called the path without a path, there is only understanding. And the basic idea of Taoism is that the average person is constantly in reflection, he is constantly thinking about himself or something external, and he simply has no time to live a real life. When a person is not one with everything around him, he is tense and constantly defending himself and fighting for his survival. And if you get it right, this world becomes an illusion if we are not united. This is the central idea of the Tao. Everything is an illusion, which disappears when there is an observer or a cognizer. And when you are merged with everything, when you stand at the center of all being, you are the truth, and the truth is you. Sometimes the awakened masters would exclaim, "I am the truth."
Subscribe to the Summary Club and watch short versions of the most popular and useful videos every day.
How do you attain enlightenment and Tao? So, what did Lao Tzu and the other masters say to know reality? You have to be in a state of inactivity, because by acting, you move away from yourself, away from unity with the Tao. You have no contact with the outside, all bridges are burned. In complete silence, without internal dialogue, for example, if you wash the floor, let it completely absorb you. If you cook food, the same thing. And when you dissolve into what you are doing, your ego disappears. This is enlightenment in Taoism, also the principle of Tantra, which is the continuity of being, or consciousness in being itself, you could say, whatever. Our ego is never in harmony, it is separate from our whole being, and that is the problem of humanity, with its wars and struggles for survival. Staying idle, the concept of I disappears. If you walk, just walk. If you dance, just dance. Being completely in the present moment, the inner depth, the inner happiness will begin to penetrate you. This is the Tao, you are gone, you have dissolved. Principles of Taoism. The main principle of Taoism is that true happiness can only be found in fusion. When you are just like a witness, thoughts arise, you just observe them. You watch them come and go, so you merge with them. It's the same with arm and leg movements, you make the movement and just watch. At first you will be distracted, but then the state will deepen, inner peace and joy will come. The Taoist principle of happiness, for it does not need an external reason, a Taoist can always be happy, because happiness is all existence, everything a Taoist does is happiness. External happiness has its reason, and already in this unhappiness, it is slavery to the external. Taoists are beyond logic and reason. One of the main principles of the Tao is emptiness, and when you are empty, God enters you, where the devil cannot exist, and what is he to do there? He will die of boredom, because he needs power over man. Emptiness is the main value. Look how wonderfully Lao Tzu talks about emptiness. It is not the walls of the room where you live that are useful, but the emptiness between the walls. After all, one uses the room, not the walls. Emptiness is the most valuable thing on the planet, and it was not created by man, but by Genesis or Tao itself, because that is how eternity is arranged, how the cosmos and all existence is arranged. This famous emptiness in Buddhism and Zen is the feminine aspect of all things. If you do Tantra, this is the basis and principle of it. Even in the Old Testament there are hints that everything arises from emptiness. Take the story of Adam and Eve. It is believed that man or Adam was created first, but this idea is from being close to the earth, that's all. And God says to Adam, "Give Eve a name," and he said, "She is my heart," which simply means the mental or spiritual aspect. The heart is the feelings that arise but are invisible to our eye. The feminine principle is the principle of the inner. The innermost is what we call the soul, and the body is our outer. The philosophy of Taoism. In the philosophy of Taoism, as you have understood, there is no definite path, because if you go somewhere, every moment is already a goal in itself. In Tao, you give up the past and the future, and yourself as well. no purpose and no aspirations. It means surrendering oneself to unity. The Tao that can be told is no longer authentic. For reality can only be known when the mind retreats. The perfect swimmer becomes part of the river, he is the wave itself. Can the river destroy the wave? To live in unity according to the philosophy of Taoism means to give up the struggle with nature, but simply to become one with it, one with being. A leaf falls from a tree, and it is simply carried by the wind, and it does not think about where or why. That is the beauty of the falling leaf and of existence in general. Conclusion. If one does not know the Tao, everything else is just an illusion. Some people like to live in illusion, some do not. And man is like an autumn leaf flying in the wind, both he and the leaf are in the same space, and yet it is very funny, the leaf is constantly in harmony and happy, and man. The way of Taoism as a religion, or rather a mystical teaching, is the way of fusion. The clouds are floating, become a cloud, the river is flowing, become one with the river. When you read, just read. In short, let your life become Tao, for all phenomena simply support the empty nature of our consciousness, our authentic being. Naturally, this is one of the world's most difficult philosophies to understand, but a person who understands it can be almost instantly freed from states of unhappiness in his life, and his whole life will be in perfect harmony with the surrounding universe. I wish you the same. And friend, don't forget to subscribe to the Summary Club for becoming more successful, educated, kinder and wiser every day. Save hundreds of hours and dollars spending on boring regular education. Feel free to write your opinions and questions about each video. We read all the comments. In addition, go to our official website, where you can find reading materials or watch other videos on channel and links in the description. All the best.